Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are staring directly into the sun, or maybe more accurately, we're staring at the people who flew too close to it, didn't wear any sunscreen, and then, blame the sun for being too hot when their wings melted right off.
That is a very specific, very tragic, and slightly crispy image to start us off.
It just feels appropriate, though. We are talking about when celebrities self-destruct, and I don't mean the little blips.
Right.
I'm not talking about a bad outfit at the Met Gala or a movie that gets a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, the career-ending, legacy-tarnishing, how did they let this happen kind of implosions.
We're talking about the systematic dismantling of a personal brand.
Right.
And what's so fascinating about the research we've pulled for this deep dive, and it covers over 30 different celebrities, is that it's almost never an accident.
Yeah.
It's so rarely just bad luck.
That's the real mission for today, right? To try and figure out the pattern. Is it just pure ego? Is it hypocrisy? Or is it just that these people have been famous for so long they've completely forgotten how human beings actually interact with one another?
I think it's likely a combination of all three, really. And it's all anchored in a concept that psychologists might call invincibility bias. It's this delusion that you are just too big to fail, too beloved to be questioned, or maybe just too rich to face any real consequence. And the data shows that this belief, it usually peaks right before the floor completely falls out.
And we have a massive stack of sources here. We've got everything from the cringe moments that make you want to hide under a blanket.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the hypocrisy of the so-called nice celebs.
Yeah.
And then we have some genuinely dark criminal spirals.
We do. And I want to flag something for you listening. As we go through all of this, look for the double down.
The double down. I like that.
It is the recurring theme. The mistake happens, that's one thing. But it's the refusal to pivot, the refusal to genuinely apologize. Or, even worse, the arrogance to attack your own audience that actually is the deal.
Okay, let's start with a category that I think totally defines the current moment in Hollywood. We're calling this one the better than you syndrome. This is all about alienating the very audience that gave you a career in the first place.
Right. And this is often a classic case of what you might call brand dissonance. The actor thinks their brand is, I am an activist or I'm an educator, but the audience's brand for them is, you play a princess in a movie.
And the clash is messy.
It's
And according to the timeline we've looked at, ground zero for this recently has to be Rachel Zegler.
It is a textbook case of misunderstanding the assignment. I mean, completely. So you have Zegler. She's cast as Snow White. This is the crown jewel of Disney's entire legacy.
The original.
Yeah.
The 1937 classic.
Exactly. And so naturally, when you take a role like that, there's an expectation of a certain amount of reverence.
Yeah, usually the press tour is, I'm so honored. It's magical. I just hope I do it justice. It's standard stuff.
It's boilerplate.
Yeah.
But instead, Zegler went on what I can only describe as a deconstruction tour. She called the original 1937 film weird.
Weird.
She mocked the prince, suggesting he was a stalker, which, okay, applying 2024 norms to 1937 folklore is always going to be a little tricky.
Sure.
But she went further. She suggested the prince's scenes might be cut entirely and framed the new version not as a tribute, but as a necessary moral correction of the original.
See, this is where I want to push back a little bit.
Here.
Isn't she just being a modern woman? I mean, is it really fair to say she's self-destructed?
Yeah.
Just because she pointed out that, the 1937 movie has some outdated gender roles. That feels like a valid critique to me.
And that's a great point. Is it a valid critique for a film student's paper? Absolutely.
Right.
Is it a valid critique for the lead actress who is trying to sell tickets to the core fan base of that specific IP? That's the error. It's about the relationship you have with the consumer.
Okay, I see.
When you tell the audience, hey, that thing you loved as a child is actually creepy and bad, and I'm here to fix it, you're not inviting them in. You are taking a moral high ground that completely alienates the nostalgia buyer. You're effectively lecturing your own.
I get it now. It's the tone. It's the I'm doing you a favor by fixing this garbage kind of vibe.
Precise. And it wasn't just an isolated incident. The sources we looked at highlight her behavior promoting Shazam, Fury of the Gods. She openly admitted she took the role just for a paycheck.
Oof.
And she treated the whole production with this air of, embarrassing communicator that were.
Which is wild because she hasn't actually carried a massive box office hit on her own yet. Her resume isn't there yet.
That's the better than you syndrome in a nutshell. The ego got way ahead of the resume. And the fallout, Disney is reportedly staring down a financial black hole with Snow White. Yeah. We're talking about a projected loss of something like $150 million because they had to delay it, do extensive reshoots, and just try to bury this PR crisis. She somehow managed to make a Disney princess movie controversial before a single trailer had even dropped.
Speaking of making superhero movies controversial, We have to talk about Brie Larson. This almost feels like the prequel to the Zegler situation.
It's so similar. The Captain Marvel press tour was absolutely the turning point for her. Larson adopted this very defensive posture with the press and with fans. Do you remember is that a attack?
Oh, yeah. The interviewer asked a pretty standard question about, like, stunts or something, and she just snapped back.
It created this adversarial relationship right out of the get. She turned a superhero movie, which is supposed to be pure escapism, into a lecture on representation. Now look, representation is incredibly important.
Of course.
But her delivery felt like scolding. It wasn't join me in the celebration of progress. It felt more like you people need to be educated and I'm the one to do it.
And then came the pivot. She tried to fix that cold image by starting a YouTube channel.
Which was just fascinating to watch from a branding. You have an Oscar-winning, very wealthy celebrity trying to do unboxing videos and day-in-the-life vlogs to seem relatable.
Right.
But it just felt like a costume. It felt like she was play-acting normal.
It's the uncanny valley of relatability. It's like, look, I'm just like you, except I'm filming this in a kitchen that costs more than your house.
And the audience just rejected it. The Marvels bombed. Historically, a $270 million loss.
The analysis here isn't that she's a bad actress, it's that she lost what you might call the likability quotient. In a franchise like Marvel, you need the audience to want to hang out with you for 2 hours, and they just didn't want to hang out with her.
That lack of self-awareness seems to be the common thread here. Which brings us to Cynthia Erivo. I didn't follow the Wicked drama too closely, but I did see the poster thing blow up. Yeah. What exactly happened there? This is a masterclass in taking yourself way too seriously. So the official Wicked poster comes out. A fan who loves the musical edits it to look more like the original Broadway illustration where Elphida's witch's hat is down over her eyes. It was a tribute.
It's the harmless fan edit?
A completely harmless fan edit. And Erivo reposted it and called it the most offensive thing I have seen.
Wait, the most offensive thing in a world with, with actual problems.
Right. It just signals a total lack of perspective. She called it erasure.
Erasure.
Of her face. It was a fan Photoshop. And then you see it in interviews when she's asked simple questions like, what was it like singing Defying Gravity? She responds with this breathless, pretentious word salad about holding space and the responsibility of the word.
It's exhausting. It really feels like she's trying to convince us she's performing open heart surgery, not, singing a show tune.
It just creates a barrier. The audience wants to share in the joy of it all, but the artist is acting like this high priestess of art who cannot be questioned. It just sucks all the fun out of the room.
And if we're talking about sucking the fun out of the room, we have to talk about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, because for a long, long time, they were the undisputed king and queen of fun.
The It Ends With Us press tour, I'm telling you, this will be studied in PR classes for decades to come.
Okay, so this was the movie based on the Colleen Hoover book about domestic violence, right?
Yes. It is a heavy, traumatic story about breaking the cycle. And Blake Lively promoted it by launching her hair care line and her alcohol brand, Betty Butt, in the same...
Oh, my God. Buy my new tequila and let's talk about spousal abuse. That is, tone deaf doesn't even begin to cover it.
It's brand dissonance at its absolute worst. She told fans to wear your florals to the theater, referencing the character's flower shop. She was marketing this movie like it was Barbie or Sex and the City.
Like a fun girls' night out.
For a movie about a woman being battered, it's just unbelievable.
And then all the behind-the-scenes stuff started to leak out.
The Reynolds effect, as some call it. Ryan Reynolds, who wasn't even in the movie, was apparently writing scenes and trying to take creative control. They allegedly big-leagued the director, Justin Baldoni, creating this massive rift on set.
It shattered the illusion, didn't it? We all thought of them as this effortlessly charming, witty couple, but this whole thing made them look so calculated.
It exposed the machinery. We all suddenly realized that the witty banter on Instagram, carefully curated product. And when they tried to apply that same fun, glossy product to a really serious topic like domestic violence, it just felt gross. The audience realized, oh, you don't actually care about the art or the mess, care about the Ryan.
That's the key right there. When the brand becomes more important than the reality, you get into deep trouble, which is the perfect segue to our next section, the hypocrisy of wholesomeness.
This is what I call the Ellen DeGeneres effect. When you build a brand specifically on being nice or kind or positive, you are painting a giant target on your back.
Oh, for sure.
Because the moment you slip, the fall is twice as hard.
And the biggest recent crater in this particular category has to be Lizzo.
Lizzo's entire empire was built on empowerment. Body positivity, kindness, love yourself. That wasn't just her music. That was her entire product.
And then the lawsuit dropped. Former dancers accusing her of weight shaming, creating a hostile hostile workplace, and, well, the banana incident.
Yeah, we have to be a little careful with the details here, but yes, the banana incident in Amsterdam, the allegations involved her pressuring her dancers to engage with sex workers in a live show in a way that was allegedly coercive. And
it's the ultimate contradiction. I mean, you can't be the public face of safe spaces and then allegedly force your employees into that kind of situation.
And the weight-shaming allegations were the final nail in the coffin. For an icon of body positivity to be accused of bullying her own staff for gaining weight, it just destroys the core premise of her.
So how did she handle it? Did she apologize, take accountability?
She posted an "I quit" message on social media, pivoting to a "everyone is bullying me" narrative without ever effectively addressing thick legal allegations. It was a complete deflect, and the audience saw right.
It reminds me so much of the Ellen down. Be kind was on the t-shirts. It was everywhere.
It was on the t-shirts. It was the sign-off every single day. But the reports from her staff described a distinct lack of kindness. People weren't allowed to make eye contact with her. Staffers were reportedly fired for having chipped nail polish or simply smelling off.
Smelling off. That is such a specific villainous detail. Like, you offend my olfactory senses, be gone.
It just suggests a level of detachment from humanity really chilling. But the moment that I think truly killed the Ellen brand wasn't even the workplace toxicity reports. It was the COVID comment.
Oh, the prison joke. I remember this so clearly.
April 2020. The world is terrified. People are losing their jobs, they're stuck in tiny apartments, and Ellen broadcasts from her massive multi-million-dollar mansion and compares being stuck there to being in prison.
It was so out of touch, it was almost like a parody of itself.
That was the moment the relatable nice lady mask just fell off completely. The audience realized she doesn't know us, she doesn't like, and she definitely isn't one of us.
Okay, now here is a name that hurts me personally because I've smelling cooking for 20 years. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
This is a fascinating case of what you could call brand fit. The Rock's brand has always been the hardest worker in the room.
Right.
He's the grinder. He's the guy up at 4 a.m. clanging and banging.
But the sources we found paint a very different picture. Reports from the set of Red, that big Christmas movie, claim he chronically late. We're talking 7 to 8 hours late to set.
Costing the production millions of dollars in overtime. But here's the detail that the internet really latched onto, and it's a weird one. The water bottle.
Okay, we have to unpack that. The report says he would urinate in water bottles on set to save time, rather than walking to his trailer.
Right, which on the surface, you could maybe spin as, oh, he's so dedicated he can't even leave the set. But let's look a little closer at that. If you are 7 hours late to work,
yeah,
peeing in a bottle to save 5 minutes isn't efficiency, it's performance.
It's a power play, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a way of saying, I am the king of this set, I do what I want, where I want, and all of you will just have to deal with it. It's deeply unprofessional.
And then on top of that, there was the whole Black Adam disaster.
Oh, that was the corporate self-destruction. He tried to stage a coup at DC. He brought back Henry Cavill as Superman against the studio's wishes. He positioned Black Adam as the new center of the entire universe. And when the movie underperformed, he refused to take the L.
Right. He leaked those spreadsheets.
He leaked spreadsheets to the press, trying to prove it was profitable when it clearly wasn't.
He was the alpha who just couldn't admit defeat.
And that's what turned the fans off. People love a winner, but they also respect a humble loser. He just couldn't be humble. He tried to gaslight the entire audience in a flop. It shattered the authenticity he had spent decades carefully building.
Okay, we've covered the cringe and the hypocrites, but now we have to go darker. We are moving into the criminal implosion section. This isn't just bad PR. This is legal ruin. And the moral rot here is, it's heavy.
This is where we leave self-destruction and enter self-immolation. And we have to start with Ezra Miller.
This story was like a fever dream. It felt like every week there was a new, more insane headline. It felt like watching a Grand Theft Auto playthrough in real life.
It was a spree. It started with choking a woman in Iceland on camera, then getting arrested in Hawaii for throwing a chair at a woman and having a meltdown at a karaoke bar. But those were just the public outbursts. The allegations regarding Takata Iron Eyes, the grooming accusations, and then the farm in Vermont.
The farm where he was allegedly housing a mother and her children with unsecured guns and drugs just lying around.
Yeah, it was a situation of extreme, documented danger. And yet Warner Brothers just doubled down. They kept The Flash on the schedule.
Why? I still don't get that. Why protect someone who is so actively imploding?
The sunk cost fallacy. They had a $200 million movie. They hoped that if they could just keep him quiet for a few months, the audience would separate the art from the artist.
But they couldn't.
They absolutely couldn't. The Flash became one of the biggest bombs in superhero movie history because you simply cannot market a superhero movie when the lead actor is viewed by the public as a literal villain.
Then there's Jonathan Majors. This one was just so fast. One minute he was Kang, he was the next Thanos, he was the entire future of the MCU.
And in the span of one domestic dispute, it all just evaporated. He was arrested and then eventually convicted of assault and harassment. But what really stands out here is the PR strat. Do you remember the text messages?
His own lawyer released them. They put out texts from the victim thinking it would somehow clear his name.
A catastrophic miscalculation. The texts showed the victim apologizing to him, saying, "I know it was my fault for making him angry." To anyone with even a basic understanding of domestic abuse dynamics, those texts didn't look like exoneration.
No.
They looked like a textbook abusive relationship. It made him look manipulative and incredibly controlling.
It backfired almost instantly. Marvel dropped him, and that meteoric rise just hit a complete brick wall.
Now, we need to talk about what might be the biggest story in this whole section, the open secret. Sean Combs, P. Diddy.
The source material calls him the Epstein of Hollywood. That is a very heavy label to use.
It is, but the evidence that is mounting suggests it might fit. For decades, Diddy was untouched. He was a mogul, a tastemaker, an icon. But the Cassie lawsuit changed absolutely everything. It was filed and then it was settled in 24 hours.
Which, legally speaking, usually just means I will pay any amount of money to make sure no one ever sees the evidence you have.
Exactly. But the dam had broke. After that, we're talking about federal raids, allegations of sex trafficking, coercion, extreme violence. There are stories of him smashing a bottle over a producer's head years ago that were just...
How does that happen, though? How do you stay invincible for so long with that kind of beat?
It's the machinery of the industry relied on him for hits, for connect. He had an army of lawyers and NDAs. People were just terrified. But once that invincibility shield cracked with the Cassie settlement, the fear of that, the industry turned on him. It just shows that these emperors often have no clothes. They just have very...
And Vince McMahon fits right into that same narrative.
The parallels are striking. The creator of the WWE, for years he played a character on evil, predatory, power-hungry boss.
And it turns out he really wasn't acting.
No. The allegations in the Janelle Grant lawsuit are horrific. We're talking trafficking, sexual assault, using employees as pawns in his personal life, and the hush money, $146 million in company funds used to cover up affairs and misconduct.
$146 million. That is a staggering amount of silence.
And it worked for a long time, until it didn't. He was finally forced out of his own. It's the ultimate example of a powerful man who believes that the rules of society simply did not apply to him because he built the kingdom.
Before we move off this really heavy stuff, there's one historical note in our sources that I found really interesting. Matthew Broderick.
This is such a good control variable. It shows how much things have changed. In 1987, Broderick was driving in Northern Ireland. He crossed into the wrong lane and caused a head-on collision. A mother and her daughter were killed.
2 people died, and he was the driver.
He was initially charged with death by dangerous driving, but he was convicted of careless driving, paid a $175 fine.
$175 for 2 lots.
And he continued his career. He became Ferris Bueller. He became the voice of Simba in The Lion King, the lovable, harmless, charming guy. The source includes this to ask a simple question. Could that happen?
Absolutely not. Twitter or X, whatever, would burn him to the ground in an hour.
Exact. The halo effect of celebrity used to be a powerful shield. Now, with the internet acting as a permanent searchable archive, that shield is completely gone. If that accident happened in 2024, Matthew Broderick's career would end that same day.
That's a chilling thought, but it leads us perfectly to our next section, public meltdown, because these are the spirals that happen on the internet in real time. And we have to start with Kanye West.
Kanye is, in my opinion, maybe the saddest story here. We watched the erosion of a genuine genius in real time. We went from George Bush doesn't care about black people, which, agree or disagree with it, was a cogent political statement, to the mask.
The Alex Jones interview.
That moment he sat there, face completely covered, and said, "I like Hitler." You could see Alex Jones, who is a professional conspiracy theorist, looking uncomfortable. He was actively trying to give Kanye an out, and Kanye just wouldn't take it.
He lost everything. The Adidas deal, his billionaire status, his reputation.
He turned self-destruction into a form of performance art. But it really raises a question about the genius path. For years, we all excused his behavior interrupting Taylor Swift rants because, oh, he's a musical genius. But the anti-Semitism was the... It proves that talent is not a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card.
And then we have Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. This isn't about bigotry. This is about overshare.
It's the death of mystique. You know, movie stars used to be these distant gods. We didn't know about the intimate details of their marriages. Will and Jada decided decided to invite us all into their therapy sessions.
The red table talk. The entanglement.
That image of Will Smith sitting at that table, just looking like his soul had left his body, while Jada publicly discussed her relationship with August Alsina. It became a global meme of humiliation.
So when the slap happened at the Oscars,
it wasn't really about Chris Rock. The psychological analysis suggests it was a culmination of years of this public emasculation. He just snapped. But then, to make it even weirder, Jada writes a memoir revealing they had been secretly separated in 2018.
Wait. So when he yelled, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth," they hadn't actually been a couple for 6 years.
Exact. It makes the whole Protector Act seem completely bizarre and performative. They confused healing with content. They thought we wanted to know everything about them, but really it just made them look messy, narcissistic, and fake. The audience just wants to watch Men in Black, not marriage counseling public.
Another spiral that's mentioned is Shia LaBeouf.
Shia represents the tortured artist trope gone completely wrong. For years, he tried to frame his erratic plagiarism, the arrest, the paper bag on his head, as some kind of performance art.
But then the FKA Twigs lawsuit dropped.
And that just stripped away the art defense. The allegations of sexual battery and relentless emotional abuse showed that he wasn't a misunderstood artist. He was allegedly just an abuser. He's trying to pivot again now. He's doing this Catholic conversion arc, but the industry fatigue is real. You can only cry wolf, or in this case, cry art, so many times before people stop.
And one more in this category, very sad, Amanda Bynes.
Yeah, this one is different. The sources we looked at really frame this as a systemic failure. Bynes was a child star, she's engineered for comedy, and when she started breaking down the bizarre tweets, the fires in driveways, the media treated it as a spectacle.
We all laughed at it. Amanda Bynes is crazy was the headline.
We did. But looking back on it now, it was a very public mental health crisis, fueled by a predatory conservatorship system and an industry that squeezed her dry and then just tossed her aside. Her story wasn't really ego self-destruction. It was a collapse under immense pressure.
Let's shift gears. We've had the heavy stuff. Now let's talk about the cringe factor. These are people who aren't going to jail, but they are fading, and it is honestly painful to watch. Let's start with Katy Perry.
Katy Perry is suffering from what I'd call pop star stagnation. She was the absolute queen of 2010. The album Teenage Dream is iconic, but she's still trying to make 2010 music in 2024.
The Woman's World video. It felt like a parody of early 2010s femme.
It was dated on Arrival and the viral dancing. She's trying so hard to create these meme moments on stage, but it all feels so inorganic. It's like the cool aunt at the wedding who had a little too much Chardonnay and just will not leave the dance floor.
Desperation is a cologne, and she's wearing way too much of it.
Exactly. Pop music is all about what's next. She seems to be stuck on what was.
And Justin Timberlake is right there with her in that boat.
Timberlake is having a very rough. He is suffering from revisionist history. We're all looking back at the Britney Spears situation, where he basically demonized her to sell his solo record, and the Janet Jackson Super Bowl, where he left her to take all the... We're realizing he wasn't the nice guy. He was the guy who threw women under the bus to get ahead.
And then the DWI happened, and the quote, "This is gonna ruin the tour."
What tour? The world tour. That quote is going to follow him forever. But it's the mugshot that really did the damage, the glassy eye. It shattered that cool image he's maintained for decades. He's no longer the slick prince of pop in a suit and tie. He just looked like a sad, aging dad who made a really bad...
And finally, in the cringe category, Drake.
Drake lost the culture, plain and simple. The beef with Kendrick Lamar just completely exposed. Kendrick painted this picture of Drake as a culture vulture. And more disturbing, creep.
Right. The allegations about him texting minors, like Millie Bobby Brown, resurfaced.
It's the trying to be young aesthetic. The pigtails, the painted nails, the slang. He's pushing 40, but he's still acting like he's 21. Kendrick just highlighted that stagnation. Drake hasn't evolved. He's still the rich guy complaining about girls, and the audience is finally saying, okay, we get it, grow up.
We have one final section, the alpha and the hypocrites. These are the guys who built entire brands on telling you how to live, only to completely fail their own test. Andrew Tate.
The top G. His entire brand was, I am untouchable. I am the Matrix.
And then he got arrested in Romania for human trafficking.
Which is very hard to spin as a Matrix attack when there are literal police reports and ongoing investigations. But the brand collapse really accelerated when he started posting from house arrest and then all the talk about fighting.
Oh, this is great. He's been talking about being this world champion kickboxer for years, but he won't fight anyone credible.
No, and his whole aura of invincibility really took a hit when he started making excuses for his own physical condition while mock. He talks about being the ultimate male, but when any real pressure is on, the cope comes out. The Matrix is attacking me. I was tired. A true alpha, by his own definition, shouldn't make. He just embodied.
And then there's Dr. Disrespect, the two-time.
This is the gamer version of the exact same thing. He played this character who was super confident, aggressive, the face of Twitch, and he was banned mysteriously years ago.
And he played the victim. He went on and on saying, they won't even tell me why.
And just recently, he was forced to admit, after reports came out, that it was because he was caught messaging a minor using Twitch.
Family man character. Poof. Just gone.
It turns the satire into something horrible. Fans suddenly realized they were cheering for a predator who was hiding behind a wig and sunglasses. The character was just a shield for his real behavior.
And Bill Burr. This one is less serious, obviously, but fascinating for comedy.
Burr is the ultimate truth teller. His whole act is mocking sellout. He mocks corporate culture, safe spaces, all of it. Then he goes and performs at a festival that is backed by Saudi Arabia.
A regime not exactly known for its commitment to free speech.
Right. And when his own fans, the people he taught to be cynical and to question everything, called him out on the hypocrisy, he attacked them. He called his own fans idiots.
That's the fatal error.
You can't build a career on calling out the elites and then become the elite who sells out and then get mad at your audience for noticing. It just damages his credibility as that truth teller.
And finally, Seth Rogen.
Rogen is the fun stoner who somehow became the lecturing producer. He spent the last few years basically apologizing for his old movies, Superbad and Knocked Up.
Which are comedy classics.
They are, but he seems almost ashamed of them. And then he made Santa Inc., an animated series that was universally reviled. When it got terrible reviews, he didn't say, maybe it just wasn't funny. He blamed white supremacists and review bombing trolls.
Naming the audience again. There's that theme.
It's the common thread that runs through almost all of, whether it's Seth Rogen, Rachel Zegler, or Bill Burr. When the audience says, we don't like this, and the celebrity's response is, that's because you are wrong, stupid bigot, the relationship is severed.
So let's wrap this up. We've looked at the arrogant, the hypocritical, the criminal, and the cringe. What is the big takeaway here?
I think the key takeaway is the danger of whether it's P. Diddy surrounded by people who were terrified of him, or Rachel Zegler surrounded by PR people telling her she's a genius, or Kanye surrounded by nobody who can actually stop him.
You just stop hearing the word no.
Exactly. And the internet, it acts as an accelerant for all. It strips away all the PR polish. In the 90s, you could hide a lot of this stuff. Today, receipts are forever. The audience is smarter, faster, and way less forgiving of hypocrisy ever been.
It really does feel like the era of the movie star as a god is just over.
It might be. We're in the era of the content creator. And if your content is public self-destruction, we will absolutely watch it. But we won't respect you in the morning.
That is a dark but probably very true thought. So, to you listening, check your pedestals. Who are you standing right now? Because if history is any guide, that pedestal might be about to crumble.
And when it does, just remember, it probably wasn't an accident. It was a double down.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.
Stay grounded.